to Monday, March 13th board meeting, which is rescheduled from our February meeting, which was canceled due to weather. Before we stand for our moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to take a minute to remember Jim Bewer. Jim served 23 years on this board and was a strong supporter of our district and community. Jim will be dearly missed by many, and if we could just keep him and his family in your prayers. So please stand with me. Thank you. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I keep running into you. I'm sorry. I'm used to running into you.
Okay. Items of interest, recognition, and inquiry. Board of Education members, does anybody have anything this evening?
No.
Mrs. Sagula?
I do, and I'd like to stand at the podium to do my minute here. Good evening, members of the board. I would like to take my privilege this evening to recognize a gentleman who has been on the East China Education Foundation from the very beginning. One of the founding members has always been a strong supporter of our staff, of our students, and our school community, and he continues to do that through Channel 6. But we do want to recognize him on behalf of the East China Education Foundation Board for all the years of your service through the river cruises and the Tastes Fest and all the work that you put into it. We want to recognize you and thank you for all of your hard work. So Mr. Paul Dingaman, thank you so much.
Okay, next item on our agenda is special recognition, the East China Educational Foundation grants with Mr. Robbins and Mr. Domagalski.
Brother Robbins isn't even in our district anymore. Oh, oops. Yeah, but he's the president of it. There it is. Okay. I did not know that.
All righty. President Frank, members of the board, Superintendent Stebula, who's next to me. I'm Mike Domagalski. I serve on the East China Educational Foundation Board. Mr. Robbins is unable to make it tonight, but he would like me to just say congratulations to all of the recipients of this spring awards. The East China Educational Foundation is an endowment fund through the Community Foundation of St. Clair County. With the Spring 2023 awards, just over $200,000, we made it. Just over $200,000 has been given out in grants since the inception of the foundation, which I believe, Mr. Dingman, you were a part of, correct? Yes, so. The 2023 Spring Grant Award recipients today, 7 grants ranging from $350 to $750 are being awarded tonight. 9 other grant requests have been approved and are being funded through curriculum and also special education funding sources totaling of $5,627. So, to get on to the grants, first and foremost, Mr. James Bishop from St. Clair High School. Mr. Bishop will be purchasing safety equipment to teach safe tackling techniques. Mr. Bishop, come on up. Congratulations. Next up is Kathy Wojnowski of St. Clair High School. Ms. Wojnowski will be purchasing items for a collaborative project for use in her Business Essentials class. Students will create their own business within a city that has been created by the class. Congratulations. Next up is Miss Lori Hannon from St. Clair Middle School. Miss Hannon will purchase a variety of materials for her students. The materials will increase the variety and opportunity for students to use kinetic and manipulative items in the art room. Congratulations, Miss Hannon. Next up is Barb Smith from Marine City Middle School. And Mrs. Smith is planning a Science Alive presentation for her students at MCMS. And students will get to see and touch 6 animals from various places around the world. This grant will fund the remainder of the cost of the presentations. Congratulations. And once again, Kathy Wojnowski of St. Clair High School. Ms. Wojnowski will purchase an iPad to support projects that are student-centered. Students will create commercials, designs, etc. for the school store at St. Clair High School. And Christy Nichols, also from St. Clair High School. Ms. Nichols will use the grant award to support the peer-to-peer program at St. Clair High School. Funds will be used for supplies, training, and field trip expenses for community outreach experiences. Congratulations. And Marnie Williams from Marine City High School. Mrs. Williams will be taking students to the DIA. Students will tour the DIA and learn about many cultural aspects of art history, art production, and find inspiration to create their own work. This award is funding the transportation costs of the trip. Congratulations. So congratulations to all of our grant recipients this spring of 2023. Once again, for anyone that is listening or watching this, you can donate by making checks payable to the Community Foundation of St. Clair County, the East China Educational Foundation. It might be on your screen, so we're always good with taking donations. But the foundation does a great job of supporting, and we thank everyone for their support and congratulate all the recipients for spring of 2023.
Don't worry, I won't get you too old.
Oh, they're like lined up like this. Silhouettes with a white background. I'm like, oh, good.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our academic spotlight. This evening we have St. Clair High School, Mr. David Maroon, the principal, for Project Lead the Way happenings, and Kate Volpe and Amanda Denny.
Good evening, Superintendent Sabula, President Frank, members of the board. I'm super excited to be joining here with my 2 STEM teachers who are going to share with the board and the community some of the amazing things that our Project Lead the Way courses are doing here at St. Clair High School. Super exciting things always happening, and wanted to give them an opportunity to showcase those great things.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kate Volpe. I teach the Introduction to Engineering class at St. Clair High School. And today we just want to showcase some of the really cool projects that our students are working on in the past and some of the projects that are going to be happening here in the future. So if I can get this. So we're going to start today with our engineering course. The first project you're going to see is designed, or our students in our engineering class designed the 3D printed charm the project called Charmed, I'm Sure. So students had to use the design process to create concept sketches, technical drawings. They had to use our CAD software to create a 3D printed charm. So what you're seeing here is the Fusion CAD design and then the actual 3D printed charm from our 3D printers. We have 7 total, 4 at the middle school, 3 at St. Clair High School, and the students are really enjoying them. Last year, we received a grant to get the different colored filaments that you see. So students had some color choice in terms of their different prints that you're seeing here. Really neat examples that our students have created. Some of these have paint markers that have given them just that added touch. Some students outsource, use YouTube and different resources to really add some personal touch to their projects. One of my favorites is Ricardo's. He's our exchange student here from Italy, and he did the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So it's just neat to see something from home from Ricardo. This is the second project that our students did in my engineering course. It was an instant challenge. They had to do a spiral pine tree. Some of the criteria used, as you see, is they had to have 2 spirals minimum. The branches had to revolve, and it had to be 18 inches in height or taller. So here you see a lot of consumable projects or products. Students had cardboard as an option, styrofoam, PVC, plastic straws, wooden sticks. The one on the far right, that green, one of the students did PVC from home and 3D printed a star. So it's really neat to see our students using those CAD skills and then incorporating them on this project as well. This was plexiglass done by Paige. She plans to include LED lights to really light it up for the season, and she also 3D designed her star at the top. Kaylin took this home. She used wooden planks and really added that Christmas feel to it. Gabriel is from France. He's an exchange student as well, and he really enjoyed this project. He's going to try to take his home. We'll see how that works. The last project I think Amanda was passing around, there are 2 coffee mugs that you'll see our students are going to be working on next. The color 3D changing color filament that Ms. Demick has, is also one of the latest projects that the district funded for our students that will also be in the middle school 6 through 12. So I want to thank the board and the district for providing us with that filament. So now I'll turn it over to Ms. Denton.
All right, so I teach the second level engineering course. Ours is a little different. It's more focused on robotics and coding. So for my students' exam, they had to solve a problem. Our first one here, they had to create a soccer goal that would light up for the ball, but not for the goalie. So it required things like visual sensors, optical sensors. They had to code it correctly. I brought a couple with me here. Another group had to create a delivery vehicle that if you pushed one button, it would take the load to wherever it was supposed to go, depending on where the little potentiometer is, or the spinner. Our last one here was an elevator. It had to go to 3 different floors, and it moved with buttons slowly. And they had to make it so that a person could sit on it, or a Lego person could sit on it and go all the way to the top and then come back down eventually. So it was really fun for them to do something different instead of just taking a test. They had to use a lot of problem-solving skills. It's not something that we tell them exactly what to do. We say, this is the problem, do what you want, sign how you will.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
Questions for the Buck By the Way courses? Anything we can answer for everyone?
Thank you. This is awesome.
Doing really neat stuff.
Amazing things.
What year students are they?
I have sophomores and juniors.
I have 9 through 12.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is a consent agenda. Motion is needed for the approval of minutes from our regular Board of Ed meeting on January 23rd and our special board meeting on January 30th, the approval of payment of bills, the financial statement, schedule of investments, and appointment of a new teacher.
So moved.
Support.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, then we'll move on into our department reports.
Dawn Demick.
Thank you, President Frank, members of the board, and Superintendent Cybula for the opportunity to speak again on behalf of the personnel and enrollment offices. Just a quick update. We did post the positions that we know we'll have available for next school year. So we have several postings out right now, including elementary teacher, social worker, and social science, and English teachers at the secondary level. So anyone that's interested in applying for a job with the district, we please encourage you to look at our website and apply as you will. We will continue to have those posted until they are filled. Last week, we had another successful kindergarten and young fives roundup. So at each of our elementary schools, we greeted the class of 2036 and 2037 for our young five students. As of today, we have 160 enrolled in kindergarten and 15 enrolled in young fives for the 23-24 school year. Based on historic trends, we typically get about 75% that attend roundup. So based on that, we're looking at a pretty consistent number of 225 kindergartners for next year. What's also exciting is based on the young five turnout that we had last week, we will continue to have 2 classes of young fives next year, one at what is known as the north end at Pine River and one at the south end at Palms Elementary. So we're really excited about that because that's a great program for those little ones with the early birth dates. And then finally, we did hire and select a special ed administrator for the special ed department in the district, a special services administrator who will be in charge of special education programs, 504s, and ELL services. She will be working closely with Terry Wedge, our special ed director. Many of you know her. She is Jessica Brohl, who had most recently been the assistant principal at Marine City Middle. And prior to that, she had been a teacher specialist in our special ed department and a special ed teacher with us, and then for a couple of districts prior to that. To this point, we have tried to stay away from hiring another administrator, but in the recent years, our special ed population has nearly tripled. As a result, through some additional funding, we were able to provide direct services to our students. We've added resource room teachers at each of our elementary schools. So where we had one previously, we now have 2. At Palms, we had a part-time. We now have a full-time. We've also added social workers to each one of our buildings, an additional speech and language pathologists, and additional teacher consultants. So over the years, we've done everything we can to provide direct support to our students because of that increase in population with special ed. But now it was time to kind of look at the administrative level too, because that was just really hard to manage when the population has tripled in 5 years. A lot of that being because of COVID and because of transient population and some other concerns. So we've implemented programs, implemented additional staff, all in support of our population of special ed students, as well as our general ed population, because like I said, Ms. Brohl will be working with our ELL students and our students with 504 plans as well. So that's just a little bit the happening in our world, and I'm going to pass it down to Michael Walling.
Thanks, Dawn.
Good evening, everybody. My update will come later on in the information and discussion items. I'm going to be talking about NWEA assessments and then how we've utilized some of our curriculum dollars and state and federal programming money to support some of the things happening in the classroom. So stay tuned.
All right, thank you.
Just 2 items for the operations update. As a part of the State of Michigan stormwater pollution prevention requirements, we've submitted documents related to the district watershed management plan to the St. Clair County Health Department. Our district is covered under the county NPDES stormwater permit. All this information can be found underneath the operations page on the district website. The last item, thanks to a grant from Michael Walling received on behalf of the school district, we are currently distributing some brand new air purifying systems for the Early Childhood Center and for the Innovation Center here. So we started that distribution, and it should be done by the end of next week.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good evening. On behalf of the business office, I wanted to highlight our district fundraising activities. This year, to support and manage all those activities within the district, we implemented a digital form for collecting the data. And we've asked that clubs, teams, organizations, any group requesting to hold fundraisers on behalf of the district to submit this information. The request is then reviewed by the building administrator, and then once approved, it's logged digitally. So I thought I'd share what we've got going on this week that's open to the public. Is St. Clair Middle School Athletics is selling embroidered blankets. St. Clair High School Baseball is seeking corporate sponsorship for their season. St. Clair High School Track and Field is selling Hungry Howie's and Tropical Smoothie discount cards. And Marine City High School Baseball is accepting registrations for youth camp.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I will be brief. Our big push the last few weeks, and you heard me talk about this at our last board meeting, was installing the new classroom technology, our new smart suites. We made a big push over the last 2.5 weeks. We started out with 8, and we installed over 24, we installed 24 over the last 2.5 weeks. We're at 34 classrooms, which is a good number right now. We're going to let everything sit for a couple weeks. We're getting some great feedback, things that we're working through with our teachers on. Overall, the new technology is going over, fantastic things we're working through. So we're excited about that. And then one of the things more for parents as well, you may have heard me talk last time about a program called Go Guardian that we have on our one-to-one Chromebooks. One piece of that software and program is called Go Guardian Parent. It's a little piece that we can dish out to parents so they can have a little bit of control for their students on their one-to-one Chromebooks after school hours. So we're piloting that right now. We have 4 parents that we gave the information to last week. Excited to hear, maybe no feedback, maybe good feedback. It's a pretty simple program to use, but after school hours, parents will have more control over the Chromebooks. So we're happy about that.
Thank you. Good evening. Way back in February 1st or thereabouts, I was able to attend a training through RESA. It was comprehensive school threat assessment training. I attended that along with several administrators from here in the district. It was very valuable training for us. We were able to learn about how to go about assessing a threat and documenting that properly. So we were able to, it provides us a framework for the investigation. So they're going to be done uniformly and consistently across the district in every school. And it also provides us a record for future reference if needed of the investigation. So we've conducted one, or I've conducted one so far. It was very smooth. And again, gave us lots of documentation to go forward with if needed. Also in February, there was a bomb threat at our Marine City campus, which included the high school, the middle school, and Riverview East. We evacuated the students, came here to the PAC, did a reunification. It was chaotic, but it went fairly smoothly, all things considered. There were some good takeaways from that. We learned some lessons about more effective communication. We've determined that we're going to use the PAC here as our reunification location district-wide. And we also held debriefs with our staff, with the administrators, where we shared lessons learned and where we provided a uniform response to each school. And then we also did a debriefing with our first responders that responded. That would be the sheriff's office, local police department, state police, emergency management, et cetera, fire departments. It was valuable for us as well as them, so we have working knowledge how we're both going to respond in the future. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Next item is our committee reports.
Good evening again. I have one report this evening on the committees, and that is the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee met on February 14th at 9 a.m. in the Administrative Conference Room, and the agenda items included discussing custodial service costs. We reviewed the governor's proposed budget. We discussed the supplemental count from February 8th, which is 10% of the district's funding, and roundtable for questions. Didn't hold any questions from the committee. And our next meeting is on April 12th at 9 a.m. at the Administrative Conference Room. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item is our Bond 2020 discussion and action items. Mr. Gazelka?
It's not April 12th. We moved it. Oh, then our next meeting is next week.
The item that I bring tonight for action is the St. Clair High School site paving, which is bid pack number 3 recommendation. Due to the bond construction and the deteriorated condition of the St. Clair High School parking lots, bids were solicited for the asphalt replacement and site work for the St. Clair High School. The bid opening was held on February 7th, 2023. The following week, bids were reviewed and a post-bid interview was conducted with the lowest bidders. As a result of this interview process, it is being recommended that the lowest bidder be awarded the contract for each of the 3 categories. Per administration recommendation, we request that the board approves the St. Clair High School site work and paving bid pack 3 recommendations in your board book. Is there any questions?
Does the board have any questions? All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So a motion is needed for administration's recommendation that the Board of Ed approves the bids by MHM Construction for the amount of $142,317.03. Body Construction Company for $458,600, and James P. Contracting for $853,365.75.
Support.
Any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. We'll move on to our information and discussion items this evening. Our Bond 2020 update of general contractors.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Mike Tobis with George Houck again. It's good to see you again. Quick update of what's going on out in the various areas where construction is going on. I'll start off with Marine City campus. We're working in 2 areas for the initial phase. One is a classroom wing. They are currently repainting those classrooms, putting up brand new ceiling grid, and the flooring material has been delivered, so those are slowly but surely getting all buttoned up and getting ready to be turned over back to the school. You'll see new students in there in the fall. The new administration wing, which is kind of the north central area of the wing of the building, it's where Suzanne and the administrative team relocated while we were renovating in here. The new metal stud walls for those offices are going in. The above ceiling infrastructure is taking place, and the plumbing, mechanical, and electrical associated with all that's taking place. And then they're getting ready for the next few phases, and this summer's going to be a pretty busy summer on the campus there. Any questions on that campus? Okay, over at St. Clair, the high school, the new gym addition, the box is coming along really good. If you've driven by there lately, the exterior brick is complete. Pretty soon we'll be putting the metal panels up, so it'll be a good synergy between old masonry and modern looking of metal panels on the exterior of the building. The inside of the gym box is really coming along. We've got all the basketball hoop supports all installed. We're getting a rooftop unit, or the rooftop unit was actually mounted on the roof that feeds that area last week. We're trying to get that started up towards the end of next week, which means we can start heating that space because we got wood flooring coming, and that wood flooring needs the temperature and to be stabilized to be installed so it doesn't grow and shrink. The supporting spaces that go around it, the locker rooms and the new Saints Marchway, that is the grand entrance that connects to the existing building there, close to the cafeteria where it comes in, the existing hallway. That concrete floor should be poured here in about a month, and we'll be building the locker rooms in that Saints Marchway area, and wrapping that up. That is due to be completed by early summer, and kids will be in there enjoying that new gym easily by fall. And since you approved the parking lot work out there, that this summer will be taking place, so the large parking lot by the tennis courts will be finally taken care of. That they need some attention. And then the new parking lot right around the gym there, and the faculty lot that is adjacent to that will be replaced too. So that'll happen. So come fall next year, all that'll be crisp, clean, and new. Any questions?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, Mr. Michael Walling for benchmark assessments and the district's progress towards goals.
Good evening, everybody. I am here tonight to talk about the benchmark assessment goal reporting for Section 98B. Similar to the presentations that I've done in the past, this is a requirement of the state of Michigan. So the three pieces that I'm going to hit on tonight are a quick legislative overview, what needs to be included in the process. We'll go through the district's goals, and then we'll take a look at the data. So the legislative overview, the goals for the district needed to be established prior to September 15th. The report on progress toward goals needed to occur by or during the February Board of Education meeting. Obviously, we're in March now with the postponement, but we're still fine with the requirement. And then we need to report on progress toward those goals by or during the June Board of Education meeting, looking at the whole summative picture of the school year. And then we needed to use a state-approved benchmark assessment tool, which is NWEA in our case. So goal number one, all students will improve performance in reading from fall to spring as measured by NWEA. This is the goal that we've had since the inception of this process. The added goals are goals number 2 and 4. 70% of students will meet their growth projection in reading from fall to spring as measured by NWEA. Goal 3 is all students will improve performance in mathematics from fall to spring. And then goal 4 is 70% of students will meet their growth projection in math from fall to spring. So you may remember the diamond and the bar graph chart from before. So this first one is the district summary report for mathematics. The goal being we want the rectangles to overlap with the diamonds. So the rectangles are the observed growth, so the RIT growth for each of those grades on average throughout the entire district. And then the diamonds are the grade level norms or the projected growth. So as you can see, we really made some wonderful progress especially in that early L, which has been a huge focus of ours. If you recall, we have elementary interventionists that were installed in each of the buildings that work very closely with Lacey Fisher, who's our elementary curriculum coordinator. We purchased a brand new Tier 1 reading curriculum, open court reading, which plays a huge role in that push to better get students prepared with the foundations for reading. And so I think we're really starting to see some good results at that early elementary age, which is exactly what the goal was, so that as they build those foundations, when they get into the upper elementary and middle school, they're reading to learn, not learning to read, which is huge. So that's exactly, and I know this is for math, but if you look at the language arts thing, the trend still carries just the same. The diamonds overlap with the bars. And so, especially at the early L, the prior slide, I mixed those up, I apologize. The prior slide, this is with our math expressions program at the elementary level, which again is establishing those key foundational pieces for students early on. And then here, it's a lot of numbers, I realize that, but I think the important thing to look at are the areas where we have both bolded sections and starred sections. So if something's bolded, that means we met or exceeded the growth projection for that grade. And if something's starred, that means we met or exceeded the RIT projection. So both the score and the growth compared to the national norm. So if you see for all of these, this is for elementary reading, for all of these, they're all bolded, which means we met the growth projection on average throughout the grade. And the ones that are starred means that we also were at the nationally normed RIT score. So K1 and 2, and then grade 5, we accomplished both of those. In mathematics, you'll notice K1, 2, and 3 are both bolded and starred, which means we grew in the manner in which we were hoping, and we also achieved the RIT score that was desired. Middle school, we in 8th grade met the growth projection. We're still growing in 6th and 7th, but not meeting the national norm. And I'll get to that a little bit later on, but right now we're going through a Tier 1 ELA curriculum review process so that hopefully we can adopt a research-based curriculum program that will allow us to do in middle school what we've done growth-wise in elementary school. Mathematics, 7th grade is growing at the projected rate and meeting the RIT score. In high school, so this is something that the district, so since the inception of NWEA testing, I believe in the fall of 17, we did not, throughout the entire pandemic, test kids in high school because it wasn't the requirement. The requirement was K through 8. But with our push to more normalize what NWEA testing looks like in the district, we've established it as a norm for K through 12 so that students, as they progress, we can monitor them all throughout their time in the district. And then the math scores as well. You'll notice 10th and 11th grade are growing for math, both meeting the national norm for growth and meeting the RIT projection. These are interesting numbers. We did not provide these in the past, and I'll explain why. But these are the percentage of students who met growth projections in reading and math. If you remember, one of our goals was from fall to spring to hit 70% in these areas. As you can see, we are not there, but that's kind of our emphasis, especially in the elementary with our interventionists. That's a huge growth target that they have all established in our buildings, is working to get as many students as possible growing at the rate that they should be to get everybody back to that national norm. And then this is just demographic data that's required as part of the process. So it asks that we, as a district, look at all students and their growth compared to those that are economically disadvantaged, and then compared to special education. So the economically disadvantaged, these would be students that were able to utilize some 31A funding to help supplement some of the things that are going on in the classroom. And then obviously with special education, we have several different buckets of money that we're able to utilize from a programming standpoint and a staffing standpoint. We have special education funding. We also have Section 11T funding that we were awarded as part of ESSER 2. And then this is the same thing just for grades 6 through 12. And I can take any questions that you have. I know it's a lot of numbers. The idea all along was to establish a really good systematic approach at the elementary level and then work our way upward. So in just a minute, I'm going to talk a little bit about some programming, and some of that is we'll be working to address some of the gaps that are there at the upper elementary and middle school levels.
So you're going to be talking about, because you had mentioned the middle school reading program, so
Yep.
you're going to be talking about that?
Yep.
Okay, that was my question. So
You bet.
I'll wait.
Do you have trends in the RIT scores?
Year to year, for grade or for students, like as a student's in like kindergarten to first to second to third?
By grade.
So I do, and I'd be glad to share that with you. The important part, if we were going to look at trends, it would be best to look at like the kindergarten class one year, then they would be the first grade class the next year, the second grade class the next year. So yeah, I can share that data with you.
Sometimes, I think the RIT growth is interesting, but, as a district, the trend ought to be increasing in the actual RIT score, I think, too. So.
And that's why we, back up. Whoops, that's the one I wanted, sorry. That's why we're starting to emphasize this a little bit more, because this tracks the percentage of students that are meeting that growth. And each of our buildings, well, many of our buildings have started to talk with students more and more about meeting their growth goals, incentivizing that, trying to get the students to buy into the assessment and be invested in it. And kids are excited when they meet their growth goals. Some of the buildings have done some really cool, creative things to get kids excited about taking the NWEA test, so that it's not just another assessment that students have to work through. And with our interventionists, they have been an integral part of helping to push that message in the buildings, and the importance of how we use that data, and having those 4 teachers in our elementary buildings meet with the grade level teams to talk about trends, both from fall to winter to spring, over the course of the kid when they first took it to where they're at now. So trying to do some of that longitudinal work within the buildings, but I would be glad to provide that to you, no problem.
I should know the answer to this, but if your student isn't meeting the projection, how is it communicated to the parents?
So the parents get a family report
I know, I should probably know
each testing period, and on that, it's actually, the report is really nice. It shows what you're talking about for each of those students, so it shows the different times that they've taken it graphically, so that they can kind of see that curve as it ebbs and flows as the students hopefully progress throughout their schooling with us.
And does it elicit a response back or no?
Say it again?
Are parents expected to respond back if the...
So the program actually does not automatically send it, so our buildings print them and send them back, and send them out to the families in the mail.
Thanks.
Is the NWEA now the state test, or?
No,
they
there's
haven't
still
switched
several,
over?
there's a variety of things that are utilized. There's an assessment called the Star Ready, which is pretty similar to NWEA in that it's nationally normed. Technically, the requirement allows districts to create their own benchmark assessments if they choose to do so, which obviously with that, you lose the nationally normed piece, which kind of hits at the integrity a little bit, but the state still does technically allow for that. So, no, not yet. I wish.
Okay.
Because I think it would only help to drive this conversation if it became the state assessment.
Right.
So,
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
So you might cover this in the next section that you're about to discuss, but 6th and 7th is triggered focus on the middle school, upper middle school level reading scores. Well, then will you follow along that 6th and 7th grade class currently that's not at that level to see, or is that just going to be something that's left behind and that class is going to keep going? I'm kind of seeing that you're following trends, so I'm making an assumption that you would follow that class along.
So the best work with this data is not done by me. The best work is done by the buildings themselves, where they sit down in data teams or student success teams, and they work to identify students that are in certain percentiles of the test. And then that becomes part of the conversation. For example, if we're going to recommend a student for interventions, or it plays a role in identifying students possibly for special education, just a small component. Obviously, there's psychological testing that goes along with that, but the best work is done at the buildings. And I would say at the building level, we're becoming more and more proficient at utilizing this data to help drive some of those conversations. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay. I'm going to get a drink while we wait.
Yeah. It's a lot of talking.
Sorry, guys.
Look at that.
Save the day.
The new boards turn off after 2 hours of no activity.
Very good. All right, so the next part that I'm going to cover are some exciting curriculum highlights, some of the purchases, which this will go along with parts that we've talked about with the testing piece. So some of this has already occurred. Some of it is in the review process, and some of it is upcoming. So I'm going to start with the elementary level. Obviously, the biggest investment that the district has made by far is through our Tier 1 ELA curriculum, which that's the open court reading program, which this is its first year of inception. Our teaching staff at each of the buildings has gone through the professional development, which included both on-site training and coaching, which is the hallmark of McGraw-Hill's training program. That's what sets them apart. That was one of the key things that drove us to make the decision to move forward with open court reading, is they set the gold standard for what professional development looks like. So that's going exceptionally well. Our STEAM programs, so that's an itinerant class offering at the elementary level. We've purchased Lego kits, gear sets, engineering kits, all in an effort to both expose kids to those fun, exciting, hands-on activities, and to also generate support and interest for that pathway which gets established in middle school and high school with all the money that we've spent on PLTW, engineering, some of the things we're going to do here at the Innovation Center, the technology itinerant offering, Ozobots, Makey Makeys, and Class Connect, basically small robotic components that students are able to program with their teacher to execute certain tasks. The academic interventionists that I mentioned, we provided 95% group, which is an intervention program. We provided the lesson libraries for those teachers, and also the professional development that went along with it. And then one of the most exciting things currently underway in the district are the Tier 3 reading intervention curriculum for our special education students, and the training that goes along with that. We selected some McGraw-Hill programming. It's very explicit and research-based in how it operates, but basically it provides a curriculum for our special education teachers to work with our students on at the very fundamental parts of speaking, reading, so that they're able to better access and engage in grade level appropriate material. So the whole idea behind some of those Tier 3 pieces is if a kid is in special ed, they're typically 2 or more grade levels below where they're supposed to be. Well, this program in particular works to make up time, so it will make up, in theory, 2 years in one, so that we can get our kids back to grade level quicker. So we're purchasing both the curriculum and the training that goes along with that. So that's very exciting. And then at the secondary level, I mentioned earlier the middle school ELA reading program. We right now are in the process of reviewing programs for a 23-24 implementation. So that process is ongoing. Again, one of the key pieces we're going to be looking for is that professional development and that coaching in a research-backed program that will hopefully allow us to take the work that we've done at the elementary level with open court and continue to build on that at the middle school.
Interrupt real quick?
Yeah, no problem.
So what's that look like as far, like how many different programs and what's that look like as far as
where we're at?
Down, yeah.
Yeah, so we met with the ELA teachers at the previous PLC, and I had four programs that I selected based off of Ed Reports, which does kind of an independent review of the best curriculum that's out there. So we brought in 4, and the teachers are currently looking through those with the goal being to get down to 2, and then we'll have those companies come in and do a presentation. We're also going to try and get out to a couple local districts that have those in place so that our teachers can see it, ask questions, and then we're going to move forward with it. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. Middle school science, we are currently working through a pilot in MyStar, which is a program developed at Michigan Tech, very research-based, aligns with the state and national standards. Our teachers and students are working through that pilot program currently, and as we kind of go through that, we'll determine what the next steps are for that, if we're going to move forward with it or if we'll need to review additional components. Middle school social studies, we did a textbook update and the digital licenses that go with that. The PLTW, you heard Kate Volpe mention earlier, we spent quite a bit of ESSER money to upgrade the equipment for PLTW, and then we purchased new 3D printers for all of the buildings. Middle school and high school math, new sets of scientific and graphing calculators for every teacher throughout the district. So that's really exciting. The teachers and students were thrilled with that. As you know, technology updates pretty quickly, and those we're in need of an update. And then the last piece are new microscopes throughout the district. Our middle school science classes have different units that utilize the microscopes. Our biology classes at the high school utilize the microscopes. One of our more popular science elective classes, forensic science, they utilize the microscopes. So we are in the process of finalizing that to hopefully have those for our staff and students for the 23-24 school year. So those are just some of the investments that were made or are in the process of being made. Does anybody have any questions?
You've been busy.
Yeah, it's fun. This is a fun
amazing.
Time. This is a fun time. It's very, all the different teacher groups that we've worked through, it's very energizing, both for me and for the teachers, because this is something that doesn't come around very often.
No.
I mean, having been a teacher, I'm sure you're well aware of how few and far between some of the curriculum updates were. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It's very energizing for our staff, and then in turn, our students. So it's fun. It's a fun time.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Okay, so at this time, a motion is needed to go into closed session. A motion is needed for the Board of Education to go into closed session pursuant to Section 8 of the Open Meetings Act, Act 267 of 1976, for discussion connected with the negotiations of a collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion, comments or questions? Okay, we're going to do a roll call. Mrs. Krantz?
We're still trying to get the motion and the support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Support.
Yeah, all in favor?
Vice President Beboff?
Yes.
Secretary Disselrath?
Yes.
Trustee Westrick?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Becker?
Yes.
Treasurer Cedar?
Yes.
And President Frank?
Yes. Okay, this time we'll go into closed session. When we return, it will be our public comment, and then we'll move on to our action items. Anybody's not coming back, thank you very much for coming this evening.